Hi there, Joe Sellors here, director of the Humber Cultural Hub, here broadcast from the recording studio, the immersive recording studio here at the Hub. Episode 5, I didn't think we'd make it this far, but we did, and we did it together. But they just keep getting better as far as I'm concerned, and the feedback from you all is something similar, and I'm trying to take into account all the critique and all the feedback. But if you recall from episode 1 to now, I still have a pen and I still like to click it sometimes. So it's a bad habit, but it's something that Joe does. Anyways, today our guest is here, wonderful person, and we're taking a bit of a different angle. So to date, we've talked to the politicians and some of the policymakers across the city of Toronto. We've talked with some of the executives here at Humber College, Humber Polytechnic, about how the Humber Cultural Hub came to be. We've also talked to some creatives. And last episode, we talked to a couple of the students here practicing within the Humber Cultural Hub, a first year as well as a fourth year. So very different perspective and different angles on how the Hub is changing their career as a musician and their learning process and so forth. But today, we are focused on another user of the facility, but differently. Justin Gray is here with me, here in the recording studio that you know oh so well.
Very well.
As you've used it many times. And Justin Gray is a faculty member here, a musician, a performer, a father, a husband.
Yep.
As I learned, we were at a dinner a week or two ago, and it was wonderful to get to know you and your wife, and also come to understand that you lived down the street from me for quite some time, and we didn't even know it. Yeah. But you've since moved. So welcome, Justin Gray.
Thank you, Joe.
And I appreciate you making time. I know that your world has been turned upside down, likely since winning a Grammy in February. And it was so wonderful to hear your story about walking up and accepting the Grammy in LA and what that whole flurry was the day of. And I would love to. You have to tell this story to the public, and
okay.
It's a great story. But why don't I'm really interested in something that I haven't asked prior of you.
Sure.
Is that between being a kid and now, how did you get here? What were the different paths? Were you were you always a music student and a musician, or did you change careers along the way? But anyways, I'll stop talking. How did you get here?
Yeah, it's a great question, and thank you for having me. So, I'm born and raised here in Toronto, in the East End, where I now live in the beaches. And in public school, the first instrument I ever played was clarinet, but that was just in band class, and I enjoyed it. I certainly was interested in it. And my parents are music lovers and appreciators, but not musicians themselves. And then basically I went to a concert that changed my life with some friends. I saw a rock concert and immediately left being like, I need to play an instrument. My friend handed me a Rage Against the Machine CD.
Yes.
And I was, up until that point, I loved rap music. I was listening to a lot of hip hop, a lot of rap music. And so that band just did it for me. Mm-hmm. And immediately I was like, I'm in. How do I dedicate my life to this? And I joined a band with my good friends. At that time, we were in grade 7.
Oh, wow. So early.
Yeah, pretty early. It was at Glen Ames, for anybody who knows
right.
The school district. And eventually through that, basically bass was available in the band.
You weren't playing clarinet in the band?
No, there was already a drummer, great drummer, great guitars. Now, I'm not going to tell the story at this kind of pace, but my musical journey started out of me just saying, I want to be a part of making this. I saw a live band and I wanted to do it. From the minute I picked up the instrument, I found an amazing teacher up the street at a place called Scarborough Music, which is sadly no longer there. And that teacher changed my life. He was a very serious teacher. He really took me under his wing and demanded a lot in terms of, even though I came in wanting to, learn a couple rock tunes, he was like, no, let's learn music. Let's take this as a serious discipline. And I think he very quickly in me found that I was also very passionate about it. We explored classical music, we explored jazz music, all of this stuff. And eventually, by the time I was in grade 10, so, 3 years of playing bass, I told my folks, I was like, this is what I am doing with my life. They've told me the story of like coming downstairs, sitting at the dinner table and being like, I'm going to be a musician. There's no other, there's nothing else. There's no other option.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. But my parents,
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were just like, whatever you do it to the fullest. Do it. And so, how can we support? Which I'm very grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And we recognize as educators, as an educator myself, how integral that is, whether it's from a family, whether it's from, a pedagogical environment, whether it's from a school environment.
Mm-hmm.
It is that space that allows people to be creative and to flourish. And I feel very privileged to have that. And Humber was the place that I wanted to go. I came here, the old building, which is no longer, it's been replaced by our new auditorium. The first concert I saw in there was the Humber Big Band, at that time led by Denny Christensen. Larnell was playing drums, who's a faculty member.
Yep.
I'm not going to name all the band members, but I can remember them all. And Michael Brecker, the late Michael Brecker, one of the greatest tenor saxophone players ever, was the artist in residence. And they played I watched this concert and was like, this is what music school is. I mean, it still would be one of the best kind of musical events that's happened here. I think you could poll all the faculty and say what was a real highlight. And when Brecker was here.
Right.
So I watched this, I'm like, this, what? And I went to my teacher. I went to all my teachers, even in high school. I said, this is what I'm doing. I'm not applying anywhere else. Like, I literally am dedicating every minute of my life to going to this school, which is Humber.
Yeah.
So I got in. I went through as a music student, as a bassist, of course. I started to explore all sorts of things. During my time here, I became deeply also inspired by Indian music, which has still stayed with me. And in fact, with two of my colleagues, Andrew and John Kay, who are both on the Immersed album that won a Grammy.
Yep.
And we've made tons of music together. We both moved to India right after.
I was going to say, you spent some time in India. That's
Yeah,
right,
we both, as the minute we graduated, we moved to India, started studying music there. As soon as I kind of come back, I did a master's degree at York in ethnomusicology. I then pursued most of a doctorate, but I didn't finish it. And
Still time.
Yeah,
Still time.
well, maybe in this life or the next.
Yeah.
But the music production side was also there for me. So as a bassist, I've played in more bands than I can count, more concerts than I can count, and toured in many genres. Definitely like jazz and world adjacent mostly, but tons of rock and pop and R&B music in the city and abroad. But then the production side is that I was, be in the studio recording with bands, and I was just as interested in being on the recording side of the glass as I was.
Right.
And so this is, over the last 2 decades, these two worlds kind of started to build. And at a certain point, I'd say maybe 15 years ago to a decade or so, I was actually kind of at a crossroads where, I had a lot of work as a producer and a mixer in a studio I had built at my home, as well as just working on projects, and more work than I could handle as a bassist. We hadn't started our family yet in terms of kids, but and I describe this to my students a lot because at that point I feel like I had a little bit of an identity crisis of like, who am I? My colleagues see me as this, but actually I'm kind of just as passionate. And over a period of time, I consciously phased out performing, much to many of my colleagues' disappointment.
Yeah. Sure.
Just I had found that calling. I'd found something, and so it's not a career change in the same sense that it's still under the umbrella of music. But it kind of is. Going from being a performing musician to being an engineer, they are two different worlds. They just happen to be in the same industry.
So do you perform at all anymore?
Very, very rarely. I still am asked, and I still will when the time is right. I'm open to it, but it's one of those things where, to be on stage regularly, playing at the level that you want, you need to be putting in your daily work. And I'm putting that daily work into my engineering, into my production side. So
very different lifestyle too, right?
Yeah, it's a different lifestyle, and it's just a different place in which you have to put your time.
Yeah.
And time is the most precious. I mean, especially with a family, etc. And also, I've been teaching here at the college, now the Polytechnic, since 2012. So that was when I first started teaching an ensemble and gone through the years of these kind of 3 worlds were bouncing around. And eventually it was just kind of like, okay, as a mixing engineer, as a mastering engineer, and then the immersive audio side of myself. And it's one of those things where once you put yourself into something fully, there's all these other factors that come in. It's the more time you put into something, the more things start to happen. And I knew that. I knew that about the way that in which the world typically works.
Yeah.
So that commitment, it brings me to today where I'm either here as a professor or in the studio as an engineer and producing records from time to time. And then I misbehaved and I made a record of my own as well.
Which was great, amazing. So, like segueing in sort of to the hub, you recorded. If you could tell us a little bit about the recording of the album,
Yep.
Immersed, that won the Grammy in February of this year, and how does this recording studio and this facility compare to others? So number one is like, what was the process like being in the hub and exercising all of its muscles, and how does it compare to other big name studios or similar studios that are immersed based?
Absolutely. So our recording studio, which is smaller than our auditorium, but still a very large format recording studio, is truly
the Gordon Rag.
The Gordon Rag.
Got it. Okay.
is truly one of my favorite recording environments in the world for a number of reasons. And I have had the pleasure of being in countless studios worldwide, including very many famous
Abbey
studios.
Road,
Yeah. Now, part one of it is musicians, right? So you want to record somewhere that is practical for the personnel that you want to record. So this project is heavily Toronto-based. These are the folks that I've worked with my whole life, I've played with, I've produced, I've mixed with. These are my musical family. So already Toronto is a decision that's on the map. The second is acoustics. This record, Immersed, like the concept is that the music is written as a three-dimensional experience. And the way in which it's recorded really, really relies on the sound of the space just as much as the instruments.
Right.
It's the whole thing. That's the way in which I wanted to do it. So there's a couple rooms in the city that were up for contention. But what we have here at the Rag is we have a space with very tall ceilings for its size, with a beautiful, clean reflections in terms of the acoustic, feedback from the environment. It was designed beautifully. It's just the right size for one instrument or four instruments at a time. It's a little small if you want to record 20 or 30 instruments at a time. It can get a little tight in there for clarity from my perspective. But recording drums, now, how do I know this? I work in there all day, all night sometimes. I have put it through its paces. So that's another factor, is like when you have comfort as an engineer, you learn a space. I also know the team here. I know Ryan, and I know that we're going to be able to how we can manipulate it to do all of the things, including having immersive playback, including having massive channel counts, including having something that aesthetically looks beautiful because there was a video component.
Right. Yeah.
Being a faculty member, the ability to also come in here in some of the off hours. This is a privilege of the position. And do a little bit of setup or some pre-production and kind of think things out is also a benefit, because in certain spaces, like you'd have to come in and it just all has to happen. There was so much planning involved. But my number one was sound. And so of all the rooms, it has this very pristine sound to it. And aesthetically, it looks quite beautiful too.
Right.
So that combination did it for me.
So what is the big difference between the Gordon Rag studio and then this studio here?
Yeah, so the control room, which we're in the Gordon Rag, is not natively an immersive setup in that it doesn't have speakers on the ceiling.
Right.
Now, at that time, because I needed that room, I did set up additional speakers. We brought in our speakers, and then I augmented it with some of my own, which was fine because at that time it was the summertime. The students were kind of coming in, so I didn't need as much teaching space. Where this room is set up full time as an immersive studio.
Yeah.
Now, the Gordon Rag does, however, is through the glass, is the live floor. That's really important as a producer, to be able to communicate with someone. Now, the other advantage is, and this is now connected to a giant concert hall.
Yeah.
And that auditorium didn't exist at the time that I did Immersed. Had it existed, there's probably a few things I would have done in here, actually, in terms of I would have just come down the hall and set up. Although I was kind of also into the idea of making a record in one space. Many of our prized records are all made at Abbey Road. The whole thing's recorded there. They're all made at Blackbird. They're all made in these at Air Studios, and the unified sound of something is
For a
also
reason,
something.
though, right? Like it's
Yeah, it just makes something that I don't know. It has an underlying consistency to it. So it's next time. Should there be a next time? Obviously, this being connected to a hall is a very special thing as well.
Excellent. So you've been doing this for a long time.
Yes.
And I didn't even know that long. Like it was that long. Like you got in and you were a student and then you became a professor and like it's been a while.
Yes.
Not to age anyone, but I'm just like
My hair
what?
should be gray.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of students over the years,
Yep.
and I'm sure there's a ton of good apples and some ones that are more challenging. But is there a project, or have you worked on a project with the students that was published, or like what is the history with the students on bringing them along in your process as a professional and teaching, your skill set to the students?
Right. I mean, in terms of my own projects, I did actually have a couple of alumni and even current students as assistants during the Immerse project. There was just a few who had expressed interest and knew that the project was coming up because they saw me kind of doing the pre-production and talking about it. And at that point, they're just in there because they had shown the aptitude to be able to handle it, and it was a job opportunity for them. But most of the time, it's actually just embedded into the curriculum.
Right.
For instance, our fourth year DS program, which is the directed study, every student is making an EP, and myself, as my colleagues, we're guiding them through the process of making a record.
That's great.
And so I'm there as the coordinator of that program, so I get a lot of opportunity to kind of interface with the students and the faculty, but also all of our faculty are exceptionally experienced in this area. They're brought in for that reason. And we're guiding them through in the same spaces that we're talking about, the same studio, the same equipment, professional engineers. And that's our goal, is to impart, the experiences that we've had and help them to find what it is that we've done that helps them to succeed. Then in this room, for instance, I teach an immersive audio class, and we've been doing, over the past 2 years now, because this is the second year that we've been in the hub, we've done some extensive immersive recordings in that hall, which is incredible opportunity, even just for me. While I'm doing
You're
it,
still learning?
I'm expressing to
Yeah.
them that like we're right at the edge here. We're doing something that like I dream of doing, and now and the fact that we're doing it in real time in class. We've done string quartet recordings, acoustic chamber ensembles. This year we did a saxophone quartet with a whole bunch of percussion and gongs as a native kind of 360-degree recording with Ryan McNabb's help and myself and Andy Pride. There's video involved, and the students are a part of this. We're setting it up. We're doing the pre-production. They're watching the recording happen. Those projects will get part of the exchange with those artists who are kind of like an immersive producer in residence for a day or for 2 weeks. Part of the exchange is that those will eventually be commercially released projects. Like it's happened during a class, but the people coming in are incredible, and they come in and they say, okay, we're ready. If I'm recording it, I'm putting a lot of intention. We have the students, so we can move quite quickly, get a lot done in a day, and they're very inspiring projects. So even though some of those now need to be commercially just like finished, those things are going to just continue to happen.
Okay, so I have two more longer format questions, and I always end on this last one, but well, I'll cut to it. So what do we need to do in order to thrive? So how do we turn this facility into a machine for students, for industry, in your bubble, right? As a recording artist, as a professor of music and sound and immersive audio, how do we open our doors to that part of the world that is paying attention? And because I find many people don't know what we're doing here, right?
Of course.
I didn't even know before I came, and that's just, and I live down the street.
Right.
So how do we make ourselves relevant to the people that don't understand what we're doing?
Yeah. So from a pedagogical standpoint, I would say that that's already happening, which is amazing. And of course, that's the primary function, and from a faculty standpoint, like that's our goal. And so already the facility is providing, the best quality environment for a student to be learning in any of their areas, whether it's instrumental, whether they're in private lesson rooms, all the way to performing. Right now on the other side of this wall, we've got Performance Week, like their ensembles playing right there.
Yep.
The studio is running literally from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. every single day. And with a new graduate certificate coming in the future for music production, this studio, like the facilities during the school year are working. And what's fantastic about it is that when we have a facility as an educator that can meet these technological standards, when it's this well integrated, it just means that we can do things and demonstrate things at a higher level. Right. Rather than having to allude to a concept, we can just demonstrate the concept. So
true polytechnic.
Yeah, and so in that case, I think that already I feel like all of us are getting our bearings, learning the potentials of the space. We've already, every summer as a faculty, we get together, we adapt our curriculum. Oh, now I notice this is happening, this is happening. Oh, I didn't, oh, you're doing this. Secondly, obviously the next part of the hub, as soon as that happens, now this vision, which has been shared with us for a long time, and it's very inspiring, of having all of the arts programs in one space, it just makes collaboration that much easier between film, between music, between all of the, television, like all of these facets that already naturally want to work together. As a faculty member, we already work on those things, but sometimes proximity is a problem.
Yeah,
Students have to travel from the north to the south, and it just makes that extra step a little more difficult. So I think from an education-facing standpoint, I think we're very much on the right track, and it's inspiring. From an outwards-facing standpoint, I mean, it's awareness. It's making sure that the various industries, let's say the recording industry is an example, is specifically aware of what this hall is. It's a very, very special environment. It's quite a large acoustic space. It sounds absolutely exceptional. Like from the first time Ryan and I did an immersive recording in there and stepped in this room, it's one of those things where it sounds good, but then the microphones were very, very happy. I watched it being built. It's fully, decoupled from the walls, fully isolated. The ground, everything about it. There's no noise floor issues, and it's really well integrated with a full, beautiful system, the highest quality audio components available. Not to get nerdy on it, but it's all there. Everything about it, just like our other studio. In terms of the monitoring environment, to be able to do it immersively. And also, even though we're not looking out at the hall, we've got this, beautiful television system where we can see. We've got all the communications between the rooms. So it becomes a really, really powerful space for things like film scoring, anything that's needing large, even just like acoustic recording specifically. I've got a couple projects that I've already got kind of in the proposal line of folks who are like, okay, this is a unique space. This is a space that prior to now doesn't really exist outside of some of our larger concert halls, whether it be Massey Hall or Roy Thompson or Kerner Hall as an example. Now, those are concert facilities. They're booked all the time for that purpose.
Yes.
It's very challenging, and it's why we don't see a lot of recordings coming out of them. That's not their mandate. That's not what they're doing.
Well, they're not a traditional recording studio necessarily. You'd be using it for the hall.
Yeah, and they can.
The sound.
They do. But we don't see it happening that often, and there's a whole bunch of factors. We just don't see it happening. So if that's something that you as a building, as an institution want, it's just making people aware of it, and it's making people aware, the best way is just demonstrating it. Some of the projects that are happening, we'll get our producer in residence with Richard King this year. We did our full big band in there. Some of the projects I've worked on, some of the projects other folks are working on, just getting them out there, because engineers at the end of the day, sure, we'll look at a fancy photo or we'll listen to a pitch.
Yeah.
We got to hear it.
Yeah.
We got to hear it. And
agree.
as soon as I hear something, I'm like, ooh, that sounds really nice. Now I want to learn more.
Yeah.
So that's the reality.
And I've hit up a couple of you doing demos in this space. One as of recent last week for for a collaborator and client, and to sit in this room as you sort of take the audience through this, the recording of a particular track or a particular song, and what was a part of that is incredible. So good on you. It's and I, as I said to my friends after the fact, outside of work, just to say, like, you don't even have to be a sound or audio nerd to understand what you're saying. You can,
Right.
for the most part, you know what I mean? You can just say, hey, I put a speaker in this middle of the stage, and then I put a bunch of microphones around it, and I use the sound, and it's like, wow, it's like it's simple but not.
Right.
But and having these tracks, talking about these tracks having these songs having 1,000 tracks.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's great, and that's our digital world now. And one of my questions I had, the last question here, just about is there a future composition or future, track album that you have in mind for the space?
Yep.
Collaboration, yeah. So
Yep.
it's coming, eh?
Yeah, not necessarily even only my own music. For me, that music part in terms of creation is always rolling, and so I've got some ideas. But like with Immersed, I mean, when we want to make a record, there needs to be something to be said. There needs to be a statement. For me at least, it's not that I feel the need to make something just to make something. Now that's a part of the life that I've designed, as I'm also a professor in this. I think my next step is in this space specifically is producing some other records,
Right.
and helping to bring artists, bring producers into the world of the benefits and the creative possibilities of an immersive recording. So already there's, we can't necessarily name them, but there's already a good handful of projects that were proposed to me where this is the perfect fit. Where I'm like, yep, this is music that honestly, if we can be in the same space together, and I have the environment to acoustically capture this, or at least components of it, with that immersive intent, in a similar way, for instance, that we did our producer in residence with Richard King, it's perfect. It's exactly what I need. Versus being in, let's say, a smaller studio where now I'm going to have to add all sorts of post-production tools to bring that sense of what we call envelopment. It's all there. So, it's one of those things where if you build it, they will come.
Yes, yes.
I think it's already kind of happening.
And you and I probably had a conversation, it's been a month or two, about, doing some kind of recording series
Yep.
here, over the summer when, the students aren't here, and what that looks like. And just since then, we've revamping our website here for the hub. So
Yep.
we're starting to post rates for rentals and things like that, and which is opening up to the world that, hey, look at what we have.
Yeah.
Let's collaborate on something and use the space to the fullest. And as you referenced, once this phase 2 is open, the 500-seat performance hall and the film studios and the screening
Yeah.
rooms and the comedy cabarets, like it's just, opening it up to business and industry and community is going to be so much fun. And I think for the students too.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
It just broadens the audience for whatever they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's facilities like this. I mean, it should be used.
Yeah.
It should be in use. It's such a massive resource, and it's here. It's in Toronto. It's a creative, as you said, a resource that is available to the community. So, just continue to do what you're doing and share and spread that word and demonstrate. That's the key. I think is really just demonstrating its capabilities through some of these projects, initiatives, and I think you're going to have collectively, there's going to be a lot of amazing things happen here.
You said it here. Justin Gray said, "Keep doing what I'm doing." So
I said it.
okay, couple of fun rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Here, okay, and then how are we doing on time? We're doing great on time. One word that describes the hub. Okay, well, there's a time, like it has to be.
It has to be rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Okay. Awesome.
He's like, "Can I take this away and get back
Yeah,
to you?"
yeah. Just awesome.
Awesome. Okay,
Awesome.
a music technology trend you're excited about.
Immersive audio.
And I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to ask Ryan and Asim, what instrument did Justin play in grade 7? They're like, the clarinet.
Well, I switched from clarinet. I was still playing clarinet in grade 7, though. I was
Okay.
still playing it in
Thank
grade
you.
7 and grade 8.
Okay.
But I started playing the bass.
Asim is like, the bass. I'm like, okay, well, we're all right.
You're all right.
Okay, we're all
Everybody's
good.
right.
Ryan's back there. Anyways. Okay, so that concludes our episode today. We respect everyone has a shortage of time these days, including yourself, and also the watcher and listener. And but I'm so happy to be able to throw out these segments with thanks to Ryan and Asim, of course, in helping to produce it, and guests like yourself showing up, and busy people.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun getting these episodes out there and getting response from strangers.
Right.
It's like, hey, I watched episode 3, and blah, 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 and have you thought about this? So lots of great ideas coming in. Which is the point. Let's generate some chatter. Let's generate some awareness, and generate what do you want to see and what do you want to hear. So,
Absolutely.
We'll get there, and we're getting there. And phase 2 to be opened up about a year's time from now
It's a
to
year,
the
right?
public. Yeah. So we'll get the keys toward the end of this year, and then commission.
Amazing.
Get this thing up and running, and then, by April, I think we're going to be flying. So excited. So thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
To the viewers and the listeners, thank you very much for watching yet again another episode of the Director's Cut, which is really, again, focused on trying to raise awareness for the Humber Cultural Hub, the new building, the Lake Campus, on what we're trying to do here, and that's really to make it a cultural destination for the west side of Toronto, all of Toronto for that matter. It's a special site close to the lake, and obviously this brand new building that we're sitting in, and the phase 2 that's going to be up and running in a year's time. Can't wait, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.